I appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning. It'll be another week, and I guess I could summarize it and say we're halfway through the session and budgets are moving. So that's pretty much the summary, and y'all know that pretty well. You know, as we enter this week, we are at the halfway point of the session. We've passed a number of bills to date. Y'all have tracked those. I think a number of them are business friendly. They're designed to promote economic development, job growth in the state. Very pleased with the session so far, just personally, outside of my role of budget chairman, just generally. But I think, as you know, we'll now move into the budget part of the session. It'll get interesting quickly. We'll take up the general fund in the House this week. I expect the education budget to be taken up and I hope passed out of the Senate this week. And of course, they'll transmit to the respective houses over the next couple of days and into next week. So we'll see the budgets moving around. Now, I think we're on the right trajectory in terms of our education revenues. We've seen increases in receipts over recent years. It enabled us, at the end of FY13, we ended with essentially a $260 million surplus in terms of receipts over appropriations. Allowed us to pay a big chunk of the rainy day obligation, which was critical. And I'll talk more about that in just a moment as it impacts the FY15 budget. We expect to hit the rolling reserve appropriations cap really for the first substantive time in FY15. We didn't hit it in 13, didn't appropriate to it in 14, we're going to hit it in 15. So by virtue of that, we have a pretty good idea of how much money we'll have to appropriate in 15 over 14, and that's going to be roughly about $135 million new dollars. So we start and look at, as I look at it, you start thinking about the 15 budget and saying, okay, we got $135 million new dollars. Let's get to work. Well, you know, item number one, issue number one is the rainy day obligation. As it stands right now in the 14 budget, we have a $35 million appropriation. After the payment of that, the remaining balance is $128 million. So, if we don't bring in any money at the end of this year over appropriations, we're going to have a $128 million balance to pay that has to be paid constitutionally in 15 against the rainy day balance. And you just heard me say we're going to have about $135 million new dollars. So, you know, I know y'all can do the math. Now, don't expect it to be a $128 million balance. We have a $65 million conditional appropriation in the 14 budget, and I think just as good practice and good housekeeping, you'll see us pass a supplemental to increase that conditional to a higher number. You know, it might be 100. I don't know why we don't just do 128. Just so let's see what comes in and let the sky be the limit. I don't think it's realistic to expect that to come in, and I don't expect that to come in, but we don't know what might happen. But I think you'll see us increase that conditional appropriation for this current year so that if additional dollars come in, we can pay that rainy day obligation down as much as possible and thereby free up space in the 15th budget. And I think you'll see a budget, I hope you'll see a very responsible budget come out of the Senate and then out of the House that prioritizes. We need to get money into classrooms, we need to get money into programs that we know work, get money into programs that are producing positive results, that we know can produce positive results for our students and for our state. So, you know, that's what we're trying to do is prioritize those dollars just as best we can.